Hi class, my name is Miss Mackenzie Melton and we are going to be going over chapters 14 through 20 of The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. Today's plan, our standards today are determine a theme or central idea of a text and analyze in detail its development over the course of the text, including how it emerges and is shaped and refined by specific details. Provide an objective summary of the text. And then our second standard is determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in the text, including figurative and connotative meanings. Analyze the cumulative impact of specific word choices on meaning and tone. This means how the language evokes a sense of time and place, how it sets a formal or informal tone. Our essential questions today are: what is the difference between a peaceful protest and a riot? How has STARR changed throughout the story thus far? What events have gotten her to this point? And how are people able to relate to this story in regards to the events that have taken place in our society today? So, we're going to start by diving into we need to review our... So, today we're going to be having a vocab lesson. This is something that y'all are going to be able to work on during the lesson, so y'all can do this as we're going through. If you hear words as we read or recognize any of these words, you can work on these. We're going to have class time. So read through the following vocabulary words and definitions. Match each word to the definition you believe it belongs to by filling in the blank. Each question is worth 5 points. I did forget to put blanks on there, but you can just write it in at the end. So that's just giving you a glance at that. Y'all are going to be able to do that. And then, okay, let's start PowerPoint. Okay, so this is a summary of chapters 14 and 15. These are just the most important points in these chapters. STARR and Haley get into an argument because Haley made a comment about 115 saying that he was the victim here and he was just doing his job. STARR gets really upset at this. Maya and STARR discuss how Haley always makes racist comments and they agree to confront her together. STARR talks with Uncle Carlos about what happened to Khalil, Carlos promises her that if he was the cop who had pulled them over, he wouldn't have shot Khalil. STARR won't eat breakfast and Lisa questions her about that. They're having pancakes, which is STARR's favorite breakfast. STARR tells her about what Devontae said about Khalil. This is referring to Devontae telling her that Khalil really wasn't into the whole gang thing. And she tells her that she feels guilty for doubting Khalil. She also tells her about kissing Khalil and that she feels guilty because of Chris. But Lisa assures her that being attracted to multiple people is normal. STARR tells Lisa about what happened with Haley. Lisa reassures STARR, which STARR already knows, that Lisa's never really liked Haley because she felt that she influenced STARR to be someone that she wasn't. STARR goes to the DA to answer questions about what happened to Khalil, but when she gets to the moment of Khalil's death, she begins to vomit. Big Mav asks STARR why she's dating Lightboy and tells her he feels as if he didn't give her a good example of what a good black man should be, but STARR tells him that he didn't. He gave her a good example of what a man should be. Maverick announces that they are moving, and Seven expresses concern about leaving Aisha, Kenya, and Lyric with King. Chapter 16 and 17, these were a little bit shorter, so we don't have as many points here. STARR does a TV interview about what happened to Khalil. The interview is anonymous, but King and everyone else realize that it's STARR. STARR defends Khalil, saying he was not a thug, but she mentions that he was roped into selling drugs. She says that shouldn't matter, though, and that Khalil wasn't a gang member, and that he shouldn't be charged for his own murder. STARR goes to prom with Chris and finds out that Chris now knows that she was friends with Khalil and was the only one who was with him when he was killed. STARR explains that she didn't tell Chris because she didn't want to be seen as fragile, so she kind of hides this from everyone, and that's kind of something that I didn't really understand the first time that I read it, so I figured that I would emphasize this for y'all. She is afraid to tell people because she doesn't want to be seen as weak or for people at Williamson to look at her differently and see her as someone who lives in the hood or anything else that she's feared the whole time she's been there. Chapters 18 and 19, the Carters begin to look at a house in Brooks Falls. That night, after looking at the house that morning, they're sitting in the living room and there's a drive-by shooting. They shoot into their house, actually, while they're all sitting in there. Uncle Carlos and people from the neighborhood come to check on them. STARR says she is scared to speak out now, but Big Mab makes her recite part of the Black Panthers' 10-point program in Malcolm X's objective and asks why she wants to be quiet when she's armed with those words. STARR testifies in court for Khalil. So this shows us like her actually deciding to go to court and testify and all of that. Chapter 20, STARR testifies to the grand jury for 3 hours. 2 weeks later, no verdict has been announced. Haley attacks STARR for lying about not knowing Khalil. STARR admits that she did. Haley says STARR owes her an apology for accusing her of being a racist. At this point, STARR and Maya stand up to Haley. STARR tells Haley that she knows that she unfollowed her on Tumblr because of the post that she made about Emmett Till. And Haley gets really upset. She begins talking about Khalil and calling him a thug and saying that he shouldn't have had a gun and that's why he got shot. And at this point, STARR becomes like enraged. So STARR punches Haley and Remy attacks STARR, but Seven defends her. All of them, meaning STARR, Haley, Remy, and Seven, receive 3-day suspensions. Whenever they get home, Lisa tells them that she's disappointed in them for being violent. At this point, Seven shows Big Mav and Lisa the video of the fight. You can hear Haley's comment about Khalil. They decide that STARR and Seven should work at the store during their suspension, but to not otherwise punish them. So, that is our summary of the chapters that you were assigned to read. Moving on. So, in these chapters, they kind of touch on the protests and rioting. Just Us for Justice tells the Garden Heights community they encourage them to peaceful protest rather than riot, because before this, Garden Heights was pretty much being burnt down because people were so enraged. They were just burning buildings, and Just Us for Justice is telling them that peaceful protests are the way to go, because doing that is not going to hurt the community at all. A peaceful protest is people who are protesting a cause or an issue, and they are letting their voices be heard in the protest or march for their cause that they're protesting. They're not being violent in any way. They're just speaking out. Whether they're marching, whether they're doing a stand-in, or whatever, they're peacefully doing that. A riot is when people take that to another extent and do damage to property or people. This means burning buildings, fighting the police, fighting other people, being violent in any way, etc. How does STARR change? So we really see STARR start to change in these chapters. At first, she's really scared to speak out for Khalil because she's afraid for anyone to know that she was there, because one, she believes Khalil was involved with the gangs. 2, King has already made subtle threats to her. She also doesn't want people at Williamson to see her as a victim, like we said before, or as fragile, or look at her in a different light. At this point, STARR is becoming outraged and growing the strength to testify and stand up for Khalil to try and bring him justice. She is also no longer afraid to be herself, whether she is in Garden Heights or at Williamson. She has let her friends know who she really is, where she's really from, and that she was friends with Khalil, and that she was there. She has let Chris know all of this and let him know about what happened to her friend Natasha as well. So she's just becoming more confident and more open to standing up for Khalil and speaking out for him, because she wants to be a good friend and get him justice. So, I'm going to give you all about 5 minutes to do the rest of your vocab. 5 to 10 minutes to do the rest of your vocab. Okay, so now that the vocab's done, we're going to take a look at the writing exercise that I'm going to have y'all do now. So here's this. Okay. Read the following prompt and write a 1-page response answering the question in detail. This assignment is worth 20 points. Okay, so here's the prompt. In our society today, many events have taken place that have caused hurt and pain to many people in many different communities. In response to these events, some people have responded by holding peaceful protests, while others have responded by rioting and burning down buildings and being violent. We even see examples of this in the hit you give. We've discussed this. What is the difference between a peaceful protest and a riot? We also discussed that. Why did Just Us for Justice advise the people of Garden Heights to hold peaceful protests rather than riots? What are the people who are protesting and rioting looking to accomplish? Which way do you believe is the best way to have your voice heard? Explain this in detail. Use examples from today's current events as well as examples from the book. So I'm just wanting you to answer these questions. Give me your opinion, but also use, like I said, examples from the events happening in our society today as well as the events we've seen or read about in The Hate U Give. So I'm going to give y'all about 10 minutes to work on that. Okay, so to wrap up our class, assigning you these close reading questions, you'll have the last 5 to 10 minutes to work on these, but they are going to be due next class, so these are going to be homework. These close reading questions are the same as you've done the last 2 lessons. They are close reading questions of chapter 14 through 15, or 14 through 20 of The Hate U Give. After reading chapters 14 through 20 of The Hate U Give, read through and answer these close reading questions to review your knowledge of the chapters. Answer each question in at least 2 to 3 sentences. Each question is worth 3 points. And that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you for being such a great class, and good luck on your close reading questions. Bye.